I also believe that we'll see a lot of crypto getting abstracted away from the front end. And therefore, it'll be more of a back end revolution of sorts. Any app you use, there are so many APIs, so many microservices being called, but you as a user don't need to know about it. So,
Yeah.
therefore, in crypto, also the same thing will happen, where a lot of these financial applications, interoperability applications will kind of get abstracted away. And as a consumer, I'll not need to worry about, hey, if I'm using layer 0 versus hyper.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 43rd episode of Colors of Web3 and Entrepreneurship. My name is Lam, your Web3 host. For those of you who are new to the show, Colors of Web3 and Entrepreneurship is a show highlighting the journeys of builders and innovators in Web3 and entrepreneurship. Some topics, especially in Web3, may get technical, but we do our best to keep it accessible for everyone. And here I am joined today by Apurv Kaushal. He's the co-founder of Intract. Apurv, can you give a quick introduction by yourself?
Hey guys, great to be on the podcast. Shout out to Lam. Love his content. Apurv this side. I'm one of the founders at Intract. I look at community growth and marketing at the company. Quickly covering what Intract is. Intract is basically an incentive distribution platform where companies come to acquire their early adopters in exchange for airdrops and token rewards. That's what we do today, but we're building a very interesting infrastructure to target users in a privacy preserving manner. So more on that later on in the episode. Briefly about myself, I've been a consultant at McKinsey a while ago. This is my second venture. The first one was in EdTech. And yeah, I think I just love looking at data both off-chain and on-chain. And I spend most of my past time doing that, which is a complaint from most of my family members. So yeah, there we go.
Awesome. Interesting. I think you said you were working at McKinsey. I'm actually curious now about that background. Can you share with us, was that like actually your first job outside of college, or what did you
Yeah,
do
so
something?
I did my first startup back in 2018. It was in the EdTech space. Sold it off in a year and so, and then went to like spend some time in the corporate setup of McKinsey. And I was a consultant there. So I was looking at the digital practice, helping fintech applications and banks establish different type of products for lending, dispersal, these kind of things, right? It was fun, but I think the challenge was that I wanted to be more hands-on, more execution versus, just being strategy. And that's what, made me think about switching back again to entrepreneurship. And I have been in Web3 for like the last 4 or 5 years, at least at a high level, looking at different cryptocurrencies. So I just decided, this is not a good time to like actually build in the space as well. Yeah.
I see. Awesome. So when you were at McKinsey, were you only looking fintech? Did you have the chance to, would you working with any Web3 company at that time, or just mainly fintech,
So
Web2?
no Web3 company, but we had like
Mm,
a area of specialization called as innovation growth. And
mm.
that's where I think, we kind of covered different topics like AI, Web3. It was, in fact, then that I actually understood Web3 broader than just cryptocurrencies. So it was like a good primer, but again, that was just like maybe like a 30-minute presentation from some junior partner talking about the potential of Web3, which was very, in hindsight, high level and not really, practical.
I see. Yeah, makes sense. And then, so after, wait, actually, so I think you said you discovered Web3 like 4 or 5 years ago, right? What actually got you first discovered about Web3? Was it Bitcoin, Ethereum, or was it
It
something
was
else?
just the currency. It was just the currency play, right? So I think just getting to know about Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think one of my friends lost a pen drive about Bitcoin, and then he kind of, we just went crazy in our college dorm. And that was when I was like, "What is Bitcoin?" Then I just, spent some time reading up on it. But very high level, it was just like an asset class. And back then, I did not really think about investment so much, so never really got actively involved. It wasn't until when I started building in the space that's when I really started even investing. And since then, it's been like a journey of active learning by trial and error. I think I've ticked almost all check boxes of being a Web3 person. I've been scammed, drug pulled. I've made hundreds of dollars. I've, actually lost thousands of dollars, those kind of things. Right? But yeah, that's been at least, my introduction to Web3 very passively through just listening about it from friends and family.
I see, I see. Yeah, I think many people, I mean, if you've been Web3 deep enough, then you kind of have that badge of honor, right? As they say, you've not been rug pull yet. Maybe you're not in Web3 long enough,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, to live. Yeah, because I mean, I think that's one of the unfortunate thing about the industry. But of course, hopefully, there'll be more and more things we can do to help solve it. Interesting. But what was the well? Before we go into deep dive into main current company, actually, can you share with us what you do for fun outside of Web3?
What would I have fun? So I think
Yeah.
I'm into music, so I play a lot of rock guitar. Pretty much what I do. And I also mentioned data, right? So in my free time, I also look up just data from random industries, reading up reports, trying to make up my mind on what's happening in general in business and tech. Those are my free time activities. And then I think I also love sleeping, at least recently. because I haven't gotten a lot of chance to like have a good deep sleep for a while.
I see. Cool, cool. Yeah, I think we will need to catch up on sleep. I mean, the industry is like 24/7. That's interesting
Yeah,
that you play guitar. That's really cool. I think it's good to have the creative side as well, along with Web3.
yeah, yeah.
And then about reading reports of industry, does that habit come from your day back at McKinsey or something? Or was this
Yeah, I think
like out of your,
that's
yeah.
when it kickstarted, to be honest. I think I had to like spend what maybe a couple of weekends going through some very big reports. And then I soon realized, okay, these are very interesting ones. Now with ChatGPT, I think my time to going through a report actually reduces quite a lot. So that has, helped significantly in just, reducing the amount of time doing grunt work and just coming to like the main decisions, the main outcomes from a report.
Interesting. Okay. So are you just reading the report, like just for broaden your horizon, or are you looking
Yeah,
for like a new
just
new
just
thing?
just
Okay.
random reports. Last week I was reading something around just EdTech in general in Asia because I was like, where is EdTech today? And I just wanted to like compare my learnings from 2018 to today. So yeah, just random topics. I've spent quite a bit of time on Masari to be honest when it comes to crypto reports.
I see.
Recently, not so much, but yeah.
Interesting. I think you're like the first person that told me you read reports for fun as a hobby. I think, when most people are asked about on my podcast, they say probably like, hiking, playing music, spending time with family. But I guess we have to have a first for everything, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Without further ado, I think, yeah, let's go ahead and deep dive into the current company that you co-founded. Maybe it's good to share a bit about the how it was founded, right? What was the founding story? And then maybe afterward, you feel free to share any presentation or demo related to the company. So go on.
Yeah, so I think the journey was pretty organic, and we kind of take pride in that. So the three of us, we're three co-founders. We were sitting in our apartment, we're thinking about what we want to build, and then we were all interested in Web3, at least as a space from the outside. So we spent the next 3 4 months just talking to a lot of community builders, and we soon realized that building a community is something that is always on top of the mind of most of at least the folks that we spoke to. They were founders, marketers, community builders, right? And no matter which company you're building, you kind of wanted to grow your user base sustainably. That was like the key aha moment that today in Web3, if you think about growth and marketing, it's not really sorted because you can't really run ads. You can't really, follow the traditional marketing principles most of the times. And that's when, we kind of understood the white space in the market. Spent around 1.5 months building a very basic MVP. This was primarily more around community analytics and reporting, where basically we wanted to give our clients, our businesses, some view of how the community is faring in terms of all the important metrics and sentiments. We got around 50, 60 clients in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks of just very targeted go to market. And then we were able to also monetize around 20% of them. And that's when we thought, we might have enough to like go ahead and raise a bigger round. So we ended up raising roughly $3 million from VCs like AlphaWave, Bitcraft, Kumi Crypto, Polygon, and a few angels as well. And that kind of, just gave a lot of runway to think about how do we look at the space. And then for the next 1 year or so, we kind of experimented quite a lot around this entire concept of growth. We had an analytics tool that we built out, but that soon naturally led path to something which is today called Quest in the entire space, where at the end of the day, our analytics heavy background led us to think about how do we get more users to platforms, and Quest were clearly winning. So we decided to like add that extension and then just looked at data. And then looked at data, we realized pretty soon that the most adopted aspect of our product was actually the questing part and then analytics. So therefore we started to double down on it. And that's when this entire journey basically started, where we kind of started thinking about entering this entire business of incentive distribution. The focus being there are companies looking to acquire real users, there are real users who are interested and passionate about a company. How do we matchmake them and leverage our targeting and data infrastructure to make it better? So that's what today at Intract we do. We're basically a data-backed questing platform where the focus is on getting real users to real projects. That's roughly how we kind of got started. So that's been my journey for the last 2 years or so.
Awesome, cool. So basically, you guys did you just sit down and then brainstorm and you come up with this idea, or did like was it come from like experience, like hang
Experience,
out?
right? So, like I mentioned, 50 clients
Mm.
kind of came together. We kind of, spent time co-creating our product with them, right? Where we used to get on calls with them almost every single day and spend a lot of time thinking about what their challenges are. And that's how we realized this is a great problem to solve, and we ventured the space. But then I think one of our biggest learnings as a founder, also, at least for me, is no matter how much research you do, unless you release something to the market and get active feedback from it, you never really understand what's going to happen. So therefore, we decided to like focus on research plus active product builds. So we have launched maybe like 15, 20 different types of products in the last 2 years, right? all from a point of, understanding market feedback, iterating on what you're learning. And that has led to finally, come up with what we have built out today. So it's been a journey of active research. We in fact do almost every single day one user call, right? On the user side. So we have business and users, but we have a quota of one user call every day that we make sure happens. And similar in the business side also, we're setting up processes where we can talk to clients more actively, but they are very busy. They, have so many things to do. So it kind of is a challenge right now to think.
Awesome. I see. I like that. Yeah. So I think, I think it makes sense, for a startup to go through many different iterations. Actually, I like the fact that you have a user call basically every day, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of rain or shine. Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, I mean, yours is like a consumer-focused platform, right? So I
Yeah.
think it totally makes sense to have that call and just understand the user mindset. Yeah. Would you be able to share something about the platform, how it works, and I think the
Yeah,
function? Yeah,
sure,
feel free to.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. So I think maybe what I can do is I can give a quick introduction and then
Yeah.
go to sharing the screen and walk you
Sure.
guys through what it is looks like it. So
Yeah.
as I mentioned, Intract is a questing platform, but the twist is that we want to focus on real humans and not bots, and we want to give companies a way to target the right type of users they want. So for example, one sort of very interesting client request recently has been only getting users from a certain geography, and that is something that our platform today enables. You can set that targeting, and through our Quest platform and our partner creator network, we're able to sort of get only those kind of users who live in certain geographies. Something that the biggest companies think about when it comes to being pro regulations. I unfortunately cannot share those names, but there are some very big companies in space who really want to focus on being pro regulations and therefore want to just avoid certain geographies and focus on certain other ones. So that's basically at a high level what works. As a user, you come, as a company, you come, you talk about what kind of users you need, you design a quest, and then that quest gets promoted to the right type of users. And then once the users come in, then you can see the analytics, you can do the attribution of it, and through that you can decide which user gets what kind of incentives. So that's basically at a high level what our platform accomplishes. And to put more picture to it, let me just maybe start sharing my screen and give you guys a sense of what it looks like.
Sure. Please
So
do.
this is basically the user-facing side of the platform, where as you can see, you have different companies and their campaigns running out. You have different widgets, different sections. You have a way for yourself to build some on-chain reputation on very popular chains like Base and Linear. Then you have something very interesting called a speed run, where basically you get guaranteed rewards for doing certain types of campaigns. So these are basically different types of quests, right? And there are different ways to get to quests through our compass page, which is basically different type of ecosystems and quests within them, through our explore page where you can just get into some of these quests. You can in fact go ahead and search as well here and get whatever quest you want. So this is basically different type of companies listing themselves in different kind of campaigns, and users have a lot of flexibility to decide where they want to get into. But then there are some very interesting features like gem store, which is basically gems is our internal currency, and depending on how many gems you have, you kind of get some external perks. For example, you can qualify for airdrops, you can qualify for some dollar rewards. You can in fact repair your streak. So we have a streak maintaining system where you can mark your streak. So you can do those kind of things as well. So it kind of just gives that added gamification flavor to the platform, and you can participate in some bumper lotteries. So this is one gamification feature. Similarly, we soon realized that users wanted to actually get crypto news. So this is our daily crypto news feed where you kind of get different crypto news articles and publications published here, and that you can get more understanding about what's happening in the industry, basically the alpha that's dropping. And then there are other ways for you to kind of build your reputation. For example, different NFTs on different chains which you can mint to get that on-chain reputation out. So this is like the user part of it, right? But primarily speaking, as a user, what you'll do is you'll come here, you'll look for a quest or a company you like, you'll go ahead and do the quest. So for example, let's just jump into this quest. So if you jump into this quest, it takes you to this kind of a format where you have to do certain tasks, you get certain XPs, and then you kind of get the reward. Now, one very interesting thing that we made recently is something called as our Intract Proof of Humanity, which is based on the targeting infrastructure. So a lot of our companies and users, in fact, mentioned that they feel that most Quest platforms have the issue of bots, and therefore they would like to ensure that only real users get rewarded. And hence we made this entire product a proof of humanity, which is very simple for any user to get a very good score at. If you're a human, you have different type of stamps or medallions that you can claim depending on which socials you've connected, which early airdrops you've got. Do you hold some OG NFTs? Some proof of uniqueness things like do you have a Binance account bound token, a Coinbase KYC? So different ways, very flexible for a user to come and prove their humanity, and very flexible for a company to also configure which medallions, which stamps can they want to use to kind of, create that humanity score. This is a very new offering that we have. So at a high level, this is what mostly our consumer facing product is. I'll pause here by the way, Alam, if you have any questions before I jump on the business side.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the proof of humanity is actually quite interesting, I would say. Yeah, and like you said, the problem bot thing is actually very prevalent in Web3 now, right? Because if
Yeah.
people, if user or maybe groups of users, they know that there's like airdrops coming, then yeah, they'll bring the bots in, right? And then how do you distinguish like who is a real human from who's a bot? You know, because right now I would say that even Discord user can be like just manipulated, right? You can create many can create many X as well. X account is also like you can create a Google account. You can also create. So I'm wondering, like,
Yeah.
is there something that unique to distinguish?
Yeah, so basically there's a concept of cost of forgery when it comes to humanity. So every single time you want to like buy a new Twitter account, there's a cost associated with it. So that's basically being used to build a model and to define score for each of these stamps. So some of these medallions, by the way, are like low cost, hence very easy to get, but then also have lesser score. Some of these, for example, right? For example, did you get an optimism airdrop? Did you get a linear XP? Did you get a Zika Sync airdrop? They basically actually are harder to claim if you are not a real user because these companies have spent a lot of resources and time filtering out symbols from their platform. Similarly, buying these NFTs might actually be a very big expense, and hence you will not like to want to do that, right? And then you have the basic KYC. So the basic context here is we're kind of creating an aggregation of the different proof of humanity ways. You can even integrate a world coin here or a Gitcoin passport here, right? And all of that together can then be used by a company to decide how do they want to define who is human versus not. And as a user, what you get is different types of ways to prove you're a human and not necessarily be dependent on just one single way to prove you're a human, which may be very easily exploited. And one more thing that we need to think quite a lot about when it comes to designing fraud solutions, no matter what fraud solutions you make, people will try to game it. So you need to always be very flexible, very dynamic. And that's where this approach of just aggregating different types of ways to prove your humanity is a more robust, a more flexible one rather than just having a static way to prove you're human. So that's at least, how we look at this space.
I see. Yeah, makes sense. So basically, you give like a some sort of a score, right? And in the back end, and then basically once they pass a certain threshold score, let's say I don't know what score you guys give, but once they pass that to certain
Yeah.
threshold, then they certify a human, right, or something like that.
Different types of badges, right? So for you to get 90%, you should have one human out of three androids. So this kind of, label, right? But this is just our internal classification. A company can decide, what, I just need one human out and that's only I'll verify someone is human. So that's the flexibility that a company needs and is given to them from a platform.
I see. Okay, so you have a kind of a rating or category
Yeah,
system, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think it can even be enhanced even more with our new product roadmap, where basically we want to focus on using machine learning and artificial intelligence to like look at on-chain data and use that to define wallet clusters, which I think is a very popular demand from a lot of our clients. So that's one bit like further enhance it. And then, I think we just need to keep building on it because like I mentioned, if you're static, if you don't evolve this platform, then people will find a way to game it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, as long as there's an incentive, if the incentive is big enough, right, people will try to
Yes,
game the system.
exactly.
Like let's say, for example, if you have airdrop of, I don't know, maybe 1,000 USDC, but you can
Yeah.
spend like, maybe 500 USDC or maybe to create some account, right? Then I'm sure there's incentive for them to do that, right?
That's
Yeah.
exactly cost of forgery, right? It has to be
Hmm.
cost of forgery has to be very high, while cost of proving has to be very low. So it's a very interesting optimization problem that
Hmm.
most true humanity providers need to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. This is a very, very, very interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like at a high level, what our user-facing platform looks like, right? And then you also have a profile section where you can see so many things, but I'll not jump into that at a high level. Maybe just cover achievements, which is basically again different badges that you can earn on the platform. And these badges give you gems, which gems can then be redeemed for other kind of perks in the platform. So that was the user-facing platform. Quickly covering the company platform. I'll not really go into giving a demo of it, but at high level. So this is basically our landing page for businesses where basically the clear value prop is, hey, what will help you acquire real users in Web3 and not really bots. And then, we kind of talk about how we kind of give you a free co-marketing boost. And then there's like a $10,000 credit program, which companies can access for co-marketing through our creator network, through different placements on our website and our social media, which is roughly 1 million followers now combined, those kind of things, basically speaking. And like I mentioned, 4 or 5 smaller value props. One is very easy to create quests, so many different types of tasks you can look into. There's a way for you to create a loyalty program of sorts, where basically you have repetitive tasks. Every single day, come and do this, right? And that can be automatically verified. And you have leaderboard and analytics there. If you have like an on-chain task that is difficult to verify, we help you create APIs that can be super useful in doing this. Analytics across the different stages of the funnel, starting from how many people viewed your quest to like completed your quest. You can also track on-chain actions. And then the co-marketing package where we have so many influencers that work with us that are available to you almost free of cost if you're interested in launching a quest in us. So that's at a high level, what our business kind of platform looks like. At a high level, some very big companies have worked with us. So for example, Linear, Polygon, Starknet, Tabi, Mode, Scroll, they've all, worked with us. So kind of, also building ecosystem partnerships and working with each ecosystem to launch some very big campaigns. That's at a high level on business. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Interesting. Yeah. So would it be fair to say it's like a SaaS model then? Basically, you charge per month
No. I
for
think talking
usage?
about the revenue model, maybe then I think let me just stop sharing my screen.
Sure.
So talking about the revenue model, it's not that straightforward. So we have in the past thought about charging businesses, ran that for a while, but soon we realized that we would rather want to keep it free for at least the first time usage or limited usage. And therefore today it's a freemium model for most of the businesses. If some businesses ask for some very big custom requirements, that's when probably kind of enter into a SaaS model. The major stream of revenue comes from fees that our users and companies pay when they access our proof of humanity vertical, right? Basically, when you kind of mint the proof of humanity is when there's a fees that we charge for enabling users to prove they are humans and for businesses to access real human users. So that's basically the way to think about it. But again, this is like the current model with our plans of building a more general purpose infrastructure of targeting. There are some very interesting ideas around how we can monetize that I'm happy to talk about more.
I see. Can you talk more about the? So you said there's a fees to use the proof of humanity. Like who pays for that? Is it the user? They pay for
It's
like.
configurable. As of today, mostly it's the users who pay, but sometimes companies want to sponsor that and they're happy to sponsor that. So it really depends on, which companies, using Proof of Humanity. The base price we have kept very low. It's like maybe less than $1 right now, I think. But I think again, it really depends on company, right? And what kind of, attestations and medallions you want to prove.
Interesting attestation. And so is the attestation medallion all handled by your team, or do you use another team technology, or
No, no. So I think,
will be in
like I
house?
mentioned, we're an aggregator, right? So some of the medallions or attestations are in-house. Some of them we use other partners like ZK Pass and Gitcoin, like I mentioned.
I see.
Pretty soon integrating with WorldCoin as well. So, different type of providers. Because again, we don't want to necessarily be the ones telling it in a very opinionated way that this is how you prove humanity. We just want to be that flexible, robust infrastructure where different companies can come and innovate and build different type of, attestations and medallions that today, by the way, are used for proof of humanity. But if you think about it, it's more about proof of reputation, right? Where basically you can extend it to say, what, I want to acquire influencers who have real followers, and then calculate a medallion for that. I want to acquire developers who have, created some very good apps on other ecosystems. I want to use the platform to give that kind of an attestation. So building that infrastructure, right? The general purpose infrastructure of identity, reputation, and targeting, where any company can come and create different type of reputation primitives, and those can be accessed by users to get value from the company.
I see. So are these medallion are these like NFT, or these are like Soba token,
So
or what are
today,
they?
at least today, the medallions that we have, the medallions themselves are just off-chain today. The NFT that you mint finally is basically a soul-bound token, essentially. That is basically, the NFT that goes on-chain, which is alive on base, I think. But again, this can change quite quickly, right? Depending on the company, to be honest. If they want the attestations to be on-chain, then they can be also on-chain. If the company is okay with us being the custodial provider of trust here, then they're okay with sort of also using the off-chain data. So it depends on the company. On the user side also, if the user wants to like make it on-chain, they have the option of converting their entire medallion set into an on-chain NFT. But it's optional on both sides depending on what you want. Going forward, I do assume a lot of it will be on-chain. So that's something that we are already anticipating.
Okay, I see. Yeah, makes sense. So you want to make it configurable and customized enough, right?
Yeah,
Because they're
I
probably
think the
different.
idea is to be very robust, right? Whatever a company wants to do, a user wants to achieve, it should be possible. Now it's depend. Now then there's the open market, right? Depending on which medallions have a lot of value, depending on whether users are willing to pay the gas for the on-chain attestation of it, the medallions will themselves kind of figure out as to where they stand at the end of the day. That's the approach we're taking, essentially.
I see. Cool. Makes sense. So I think I've used some other questing platform just for experiment, just for fun, actually. How would you? I mean, since you work on McKinsey and like strategy as well, maybe you can share with me like how does your product differ from Gaussy and Zelle and maybe some of the other questing platform in Web3?
Yeah, and that's a very common question that, we always have to think about because we kind of entered the space when they were almost like 5 months into the pipeline, right? At the end of the day. So the way we look at it, to be honest, our core value prop is real human users, right? We put everything in place, making sure bots don't end up winning rewards or even interacting with our platform. So if you're using us versus some of our other competitors or other players in the space, our focus is on real humans, and we kind of do whatever it takes to get your real humans from our platform. So that's one major sort of distinguishing factor between other platforms and us, because typically what we've heard from clients is there are some amount of botting happening on the platform, sometimes even a lot if you put some like confirmed token reward into quests. That's one, real human, not bots. Second, like I mentioned, is for business it's about free co-marketing support. So mostly on a Galaxy or on a Zili, you don't really feature on their homepage as quickly as possible. You don't really have a way to even talk to them to like get that done. For us, it's free co-marketing support if you meet certain criteria, which is basically, do our users think your project has good potential? So therefore, if users think projects have good potential, then basically we kind of co-market them for free on our website widgets, on our social media, on even, our different kind of channels like influencer network. That's basically another core value prop, free co-marketing that we offer. And then the third one, I think, is at a high level, the major idea of excellent customer support. So we have like a dedicated client success team that sits every single day, spending 24 hours almost in different slots, helping clients, get onboarded to the product. And this is also something that, we realized once we got into the space was missing, was a gap with some of our competitors. And that has, led to us sort of, providing this support 24/7, because even though our product is very easy to use, very friendly, if you think about the way the cycle works, when a company starts, they need more advisory and consulting support alongside using a product. And that's where, our client success team really comes in. That's the third value prop. So no bots, co-marketing support that's free, and excellent client success. These are the three most commonly heard feedback from our clients, most commonly spoken about values within the company that we want to keep driving more and more. But in terms of sheer traction, we may have lesser users today as compared to some of the other platforms. That's simply because we have been focused on getting real on-chain users. In fact, majority of our users today are avid on-chain users. They have gotten so many airdrops from so many other companies that kind of proves that they have been in this space for a long time. They have been on-chain users. They have been driving the real impact in the space rather than just following social accounts.
Interesting. Yeah, makes sense. Actually, you would like to maybe ask more about the excellent customer support. You said you guys have like a dedicated client support. Is this like something pretty unique, would you say, in Web3? Actually, I'm not really sure, but like, is this how has
Yeah,
this really helped? Has this really
yeah.
helped
So
them?
that's a very interesting question, right? So if you think about client support, at least in our space of questing, right? One of the most common feedback we got from our partners was, hey, we launched a quest on this partner, but they haven't gotten back to us. Can you, help us design a better quest? That was the genesis of us thinking about, okay, client support is something that's, very important in this space that at least our partners are not doing, right? And then this gets exacerbated so much more on even the user side, right? So if you think about users, right, when you have a community, most of the support that happens on Discord. And Discord, by the way, is very good when it comes to support, especially if you have scale. I think you cannot raise more than 500 tickets at once there. After that, the ticketing bot kind of, fails, and there's like a big mess that happens. So we made a very intentional call to move our entire support, both on the clients and the user side, away from Discord to the website itself. So we use basically chatbots like Intercom, where basically the support is, much better managed. There's more data to track. You can define metrics like CSAT, NPS, and once you have those metrics defined, you can really push your team to like drive them towards excellence. And we have 95% plus CSATs on both kind of, interfaces, both user and business. I think it's working. Long story short, I think it's an underlooked space in the industry, customer support and client support, because most companies don't really do that. That may be because you don't have scale. If you have scale, I think you'll have to do that. That might be a reason. But if you think about it, the best ecosystems or chains in the space have worked out because of great developer support. And we kind of, thinking about it similarly, that we're an ecosystem of projects and users, and being able to support both the stakeholders is very important.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. I feel like for developer support, I mean, obviously you need like technical support person, right? It's probably harder compared to like business support. I feel like a lot of yours, what you're doing is probably business support, right? It's not really technical, I would say. Or like maybe
Business,
there's some, probably
some
some,
bit
right?
of technical. I'll say 20-30% of our queries are in fact technical
Hmm.
because folks, have doubts about how to use the APIs that, we provide.
I
So that's
see.
there. But yeah, I think still 70% is completely, user and business. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Interesting. Yeah, I think you raised some interesting point, and you said like 95%. What are the CSAT?
CSAT, customer
What?
satisfaction score, right? So it's
Okay.
typically 80, 85 is considered to be a good one. But we have been able to drive it to 90, 95 in like the last 1 or 2 months, both sides.
Interesting. And then you
Yeah.
have big enough sample size, I suppose, right, for this to make it
Yeah. On
valid.
the user side, I think the sample side is around 50,000 users in like
Okay.
3 weeks. On the business side, it might be around 500 in a week or so.
I see. Okay.
So
Then
yeah.
then I think the sample size is big enough. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. That's exciting. So yeah, maybe talking a bit about the, I mean the numbers as well, the traction as well. Can you share a bit more about that? I think you said. So how many users do you have, and how many clients,
Yeah.
or
So
what are the
12
interesting numbers?
million, 12 million lifetime users till now who have, come on the platform at least once and did some meaningful activity. I'll say 5 to 6 million of them are actually verified as well, from, our internal databases, proof of humanity and, multiple other checks that we put in place. The active user base rounds up around 1 million monthly active users from time to time. That's, I think, a pretty healthy number, at least in the space. And if you think about businesses side, we have 1,000 plus applications who have tried us at least once. Roughly active applications in a week are around 200. So those are some of the numbers that I can think right now, at the top of my head. Although, we have been growing so fast that sometimes these numbers become super outdated. So that's always there. But yeah, those are some major numbers in terms of both user and business traction. But the number that we are very excited about is how much incentives have we driven from our platform. And that number kind of, comes around 2.5 to $3 million worth of incentives solely distributed through Intract to the airdrops and the different kind of, quests that our platform hosts. So that's at least one number that we really think about because if you think about it, at the end of the day, incentive alignment is what we're into. And if we don't have enough incentives to align with, then we don't have enough business and enough users as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then just curious about the incentive distribution there. So is it you get the incentive from the partner and then you distribute to user, or you just like an intermediary and then they finish a
So
quest, they go
multiple,
claim somewhere
again,
else?
multiple ways, right? So there have been maybe like 20-30% of times when we kind of got the allocation and we distribute it to our community. But then that is something that most companies don't want to do because they don't want the user to have a good website recall, a brand recall on the website itself. And claiming a reward is that aha moment, right? So why do you want to
Yeah.
outsource it? So therefore, most of the companies actually have a reward claim set up on their own website, and that's where the reward claim happens. So we integrate with their points program basically, right? And you would see us pop up in airdrop criteria having completed Interact quests and done these transactions and done that, right? That's essentially how we kind of attribute that success to us. That if you have done that Interact quest, then you got these many airdrop points and hence these many airdrop tokens. So that's at least how it works.
Interesting. Yeah, and you brought up a great point there. I think for sure claiming reward is like a real excitement moment for the consumer, right?
Okay, right.
Yeah, yeah.
So you want to have it in the same website.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you want to keep it there as long as the rewards are real.
Yeah,
I would say, because one of the problem in Web3 is like there's like phishing sites that just say that, hey, claim this reward, but you click on the site, you thought you're gonna get some money, and then next thing your wallet is like gone or something. You never know.
yeah.
Like,
I
yeah,
think
it's scary.
interestingly, very important problem, right? Which is why when you think about our roadmap, we have like an AI product that's built on top of Twitter. One problem it solves is spam and scam, right? So you no longer get spam and scam if using our product to like browse the AI moderated crypto tools that are built out. So that's very interesting product, kind of like a crypto co-pilot of sorts, where basically you can ask questions, you get answers, and then you when you want from that one single place, you can initiate an action and get it done as well. That's one thing that's very interesting in the pipeline. When you talk about scam and spam, I think it just came in my head to talk about that.
Interesting. Yeah. So for the AI, I guess you probably train the model off chain, right? But then how do you plan on like, integrate some of that into the platform? I'm curious.
So
Maybe
the way you
share
can
some of the
think
idea.
about it is the way you can think about it is on our platform, users come to discover different kind of projects, right? Now, one way of discovering projects today is Twitter. So what you're saying is, you're browsing Twitter, but why don't you try our product, which we call the intern, basically, right? It's a funny way of saying, it's an intern that, you can use
Yeah.
in crypto. And then you kind of come and you can, ask questions to it. And it is trained on real-time crypto Twitter data that kind of, give you insights and then also shows you the right tweets that it's linking. You kind of like Grok, if you've tried Grok in the Twitter space, right? It kind of just gives you an AI level summary of what's happening on Twitter and then gives you links similar to that, but it's fine tuned for crypto Twitter, fine tuned for airdrops and early projects, basically speaking. So that's the experience. It's primarily for discovering new projects, and that's where if you don't want to see scam, you can use us because we don't even whitelist those accounts that give us scam, for example, right? We only whitelist very good influencer accounts, very good project accounts, news accounts, and use that to train our model. But that's completely off chain. When it comes to thinking about going on chain, honestly, not thought about a lot. It's still part of our roadmap as to whether we need to really decentralize it, make it on chain. For now, it's more about the user experience and value. And that I think from a centralized alternative, we can actually deliver.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be tough to try to decentralize, try to put it on chain, right?
Yeah, I
Because I
mean,
mean,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
one of the
Hmm.
hot takes, most decentralized AI products are just high level theory. I'm not sure they'll really work out because AI being decentralized is pretty far now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some. Well, actually, I'm not so sure about that, but I mean, there's some protocols right now who are trying to do that, but I'm not sure how well they're executing. Yeah.
Yeah, just like a random opinion that at least I have built after reviewing so many such decentralized AI projects. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, let's maybe talk a bit about your team as well too. So, how many people work in your team right now?
So I think we're roughly a team of 50 contributors now overall, 50 contributors who help in different kind of, functions, business, marketing, product tech being the most, to be honest, because, we're building so many experiments out there. That's at least how it looks like. And like I mentioned, three of us are co-founders. I look at marketing and community. We have Abhishek who looks at tech and product, while we have Sam who looks at business and partnerships.
Cool,
And
cool,
most
cool.
of us are, I think, from Asia Pacific regions, with a few folks from San Francisco and a couple from, I think, Europe as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice, nice. So, how many would you say in the engineering team, and how many would be, or what percent? Yeah.
60% could be in the engineering team, so to speak, right?
Okay,
60% of the entire 50 contributors here.
I see. And then the remaining is in business and other things
Yeah,
support, right?
business, marketing, community support, partnerships, all of that.
Cool, cool. And your team is probably just like any other Web3 company, like fully remote, right? Global remote.
There's parts of the team that are in office, parts of team remote. It really depends, right? I mean, in terms of what you're driving.
I see. So,
Yeah.
do you have like a headquarters then? If you have an office?
Yeah, I mean, we're registered in Singapore for
Oh,
legal reasons, but then, I
I
think
see.
we are still pretty much decentralized in that sense.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. So it sounds like many things are going well with your company. You guys have like fundraising, have a big team. You said like 50 people, right? 50, which is pretty
Yeah,
big team, I would say,
yeah.
for like a 2 years old company. And then, yeah, so it being, at the moment, are there any particular challenges facing your team?
I think one challenge definitely is just managing civil and bot actors. Like I mentioned, they're very smart, very intelligent. So whatever you build, they kind of, try to circumvent it. So just keeping at it is like a challenge. But again, in control, I won't say it's not something that, we have thought about a lot. Another challenge probably is just being able to be more degen internally. So I personally believe that getting a team that's degen is more important than getting someone who kind of knows Web2 and will learn Web3. So just being able to train the team to be more degen or get more degen folks to work with us is something that I personally think a lot about. It's one of my values where I believe that someone who really believes in Web3 is Web3 native can actually drive so much more value in any work stream that they're a part of, right? But then there are the other challenges. If you have a Web3 native person, they probably don't want to work full time. They want to like juggle between 10 different small projects and, optimize for their airdrop allocation, so to speak, right? So that is a challenge that we're going to face. But rest, most of it is going fine. We will be thinking about a raise, say late this year or early next year again, because I think we have hit some very interesting milestones. We have some very positive feedback from our existing investors, so that's also going well. Yeah, and personally, I think it's not a challenge, but more like a milestone that we are looking forward to. So we're also launching a Ton mini app, so a Telegram facing interface of our Quest, where if you're on Telegram, from Telegram itself, you can do these quests and qualify for airdrops. So that's at least a very big achievement or as the big initiative that we're driving right now. And it'll launch maybe this week itself and hope, it goes well.
Interesting. Telegram, yeah. I think we both know that probably Telegram has been booming a lot this year, right? I mean, they already have a huge ecosystem of over 900 million users, and I think some of the experience on there is quite smooth, I would say, for user because it's like all integrated right, in one platform. So, can you share a bit more about like what sort of app are you planning to do? Do people actually execute quests on there, or is it just like a place for them to play game, or what's the thinking
Yeah,
there?
so I think the core value is as a Telegram user, you don't need to leave Telegram to do quests on the platform.
Hmm.
And you kind of, get access to quests there itself, some very easy quests that, you can execute to qualify for airdrops and rewards and also discover new products. But again, there's also gamification elements to it. So for example, we're very big fans of anime. So we have an anime character kind of, interfacing the entire app, and then you have the tap to earn mechanic added to it as well. So the way this works is you tap to earn some airdrop, some rewards.
Oh,
But to do that, you need to actually get multipliers. Those multipliers happen if you do quests, for example, on the platform or refer more users, right? So the way to think about it is the core value for us is still, getting more quests, more companies, more users. But then we are integrating the Telegram nativity of many apps into it, right? Where you have a tap to earn mechanic as well.
interesting. So tap to earn is a way. Yeah. So
Yeah,
actually, I think so would it be similar to like Notcoin or I don't know a bunch of other game where you just keep tapping until you get
yeah,
some.
but you tap, but if you want to get multipliers, you gotta do quests, right? So that's at least, how you kind of drive that behavior.
Okay,
We
I
did an
see.
experiment and realized that this kind of a flow makes more sense than just having a quest because most users in Telegram ecosystem are not necessarily super Web3 native. So they kind of might come to you first primarily for just say playing the tap to earn game where they've in the past earned some rewards, and then you kind of hook them and tell them, what, there's something more interesting about Web3.
Interesting. Actually, when you said tap to earn, I think my mind just gotta remember about like I saw a video. I don't remember where I saw it, probably on X or something, Twitter, where there's like I think in like Asia, I'm guessing probably China or some country in Southeast Asia here, where they had like a whole tap to earn fam, where they had like what 10 phones here, and then they actually had a machine, like where it's like keep tapping for you and you get all the points here. I think I don't know it was not Koi or whatever other program on there, but I'm just kind of imagining that. Yeah, I feel like
No,
because
I think you touched a very important point about how the Telegram ecosystem is super botted, right? And that's why.
I see. So wait, so then would someone need to verify themselves then? Would you connect the account, right? You connect
So
like
I
the
think
account somewhere.
I think the key insight here is if you want to participate, there's no verification, right? But you
Hmm.
want to claim a reward, that's where the verification can come in.
I
Because
see.
at the end of the day, it's about not distributing incentives to bots. That's where at least the biggest challenge is, right? If a bot wants to, farm things, they are free to do so. So eventually, because we're hitting at the right moment of not allowing rewards to be distributed, we'll see lesser bot traffic on the platform as well. But the
I see.
first moment of friction cannot be verification because as a user, a real user, then it becomes a friction point for me, right? I would
Yeah.
rather want to first get the aha moment, get the entire experience done, then when I have to claim a reward, that's where a little bit of friction still makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Basically, you want to make sure that okay, I am well. Hopefully that'll work out, and that you will not get a lot of bots here. Because I feel like Telegram, it's quite simple to botting. Wait, but
Yeah.
then would you connect then with the Telegram wallet, or is it either EVM wallet or like
I
email or
think you
something?
can log in with Telegram, and then you can add additional wallets like Telegram wallet,
I
EVM, all
see.
that. Because we're launching it in partnership with Tron, so we
I
need to
see.
have a Tron wallet for sure, right? But then
Yeah.
there's also other kind of wallets that you can add.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. That makes sense then. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
like the whole platform is cool. Okay. I'm gonna just switch the direction and talk about Web3 in general. I wanna hear some of your takes about Web3 in general, the industry as a whole. So where do you think Web3 industry is heading in like the next few years? Like, would there be anything exciting? Any interesting prediction for like consumer facing apps as well too?
I think my bet is consumer, right? There's so much investment, so much mind share spent in infrastructure. I think the time is right for consumer applications to come. We're seeing good performance from a lot of blockchains. We're seeing some very good sort of, thinking about consumer applications coming up the cycle. So my bet is consumer application. Now within that, again, the very first ones have to be gambling and, financial apps because
Hmm.
that's what today the market is, right? So that's given. But then I think going forward, I'm hoping to see more real world use cases pop up based on the consumer aspect of crypto, and you could see those happening in traditional network businesses like Uber, for example, but localized to a country and being more Web3, or the deepened revolution is something very interesting, which is again where you kind of get a flavor of consumer as a user, because you can be a participant in a deepened driver network by driving a car. So those kind of things. So that's at least one of my high level convictions. That will be consumer crypto. It will probably be something like a deepened kind of a thing. That's one bet. Second big bet is, I think, just institutional investment flowing in. So it going to RWAs, because that's where I think it just makes the most sense for the institutional money to go. So just being thinking about how institutions will adopt different RWAs, seeing some very positive signs. Those are some very interesting bets that I think about. In general, if I think about the crypto space, right? I also believe that eventually, or at least 4 or 5 years down the line, we'll see a lot of crypto getting abstracted away from the front end, and therefore it'll be more of a back-end revolution of sorts, right? Just like in case of any app you use, there are so many APIs, so many microservices being called, but you as a user don't need to know about it. So
Yeah.
therefore, in crypto, also the same thing will happen, right? Where a lot of these financial applications, interoperability applications will kind of get abstracted away. And as a consumer, I'll not need to worry about, hey, if I'm using layer zero versus hyperlink, that's going to be taken care in the backend itself. And this idea is basically called chain abstraction and intent-based architectures. So that's basically what I like to see the space evolve to. Because unless and until that happens, you don't really see mainstream adoption coming in, bearing, some random meme coins that, a celebrity might drop. So yeah.
I see. Interesting take. Yeah, for sure. I do think that one of the UX of Web3 is like like when you have multiple blockchain now, and now with the cost of launching a blockchain, I think we reduce significantly, right? Compared to maybe 4 or 5 years ago, because now you have like chain development kit or whatever kit out there, right? I think it's very easy to launch a new chain. So how to abstract like a lot of those, I guess, I think they call it chain abstraction, like you said, so that
Yeah.
user don't have to care about what chain they're on, what API they have to use, or well, actually they don't even need to think about any other technical, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
we gotta look forward to that day. I don't know when that day will come with it, but
What's
hopefully.
your hot take, man, on
What's my
crypto?
hot take? I don't know. Actually, to be honest, I've listened to so many different my different guesses taking on that, so I'm not really sure. But I would say that so some people have told me that you have to have the big businesses, big corporation come in first, leading the way, because they might be like the
Hmm.
trendsetter, right? The pioneers, and then afterward, some the one will come. So I mean, this is something that some of my guests have told me too. So but I think people different have opinion. In my opinion, my personal opinion, I think will take probably, I would say, I don't think it's gonna be this cycle. It's probably gonna be two more cycles, or maybe like the next cycle, one or two more cycles until we see like mass adoption, right? Because like you said, I think the chain abstraction you said, or maybe many other factors like big company, big institution, I don't think they are fully here yet, right? So for them to come here, it will take time, right? And it's not gonna be like soon, 1 or 2 months. It'll probably be years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
know how big companies move. I don't think they're gonna
Yeah.
move in like,
Totally.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's my personal take on that. Yeah, which is good. So I think which basically segue us into the logical question here, actually, that I'm very curious about. So what can we do as builders and developers? Right? What can we do to onboard, like help onboard 1 billion people in the Web3?
The founder in me says get them to interact, and we will take care of it. But on a serious note, I think what's required is a couple of things. So one is obviously thinking about user experience when you're building apps. Don't try to make it super complex, super degen if you want more users to come in. Second is don't do crypto for the sake of just tokens, because yeah,
Hmm.
I know you can do a token launch and you can make a bunch of money, but then that necessarily doesn't really take space, right? In fact, it creates like this negative perception of a casino culture, which I think is not really very good for mainstream adoption. And third is just education and advocacy and more conversations, right? So one thing that has helped a lot of our team members really build more thought about the space and then convey it to other people and their friends is just more conversations, right? Very deep questions about why do you even need decentralization in this context? What exactly does crypto really solve? What are some problems with crypto today? Being very honest about those, addressing those head on, at least in conversation dialogues, because it helps you build that deep thinking about what the space is supposed to be doing versus what it's doing. And unless and until enough builders think about it, they won't build the right apps in the space. They won't put the user at the center. They won't solve the real problems, right? And as long as it's just about launching a token in a hype cycle, it will never really scale. So that's at least how we look at it.
Yeah. I totally concur with that as well. I feel like many companies, they probably haven't realized what is the true utility of the token, right? They're just launching token
Yeah,
for the sake of token, and I mean, I think we both know that. I guess token is like one of the really good way of it is like for fundraising, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So, but I'm not sure if, is there utility beyond that besides just helping them fundraising. So yeah, that's probably a good question that for a lot of the Web3 company to think about. But I feel like tokenomics is also an topic in Web3 that is very underrepresented or maybe understudied, right? So probably need more researcher.
I love Matty Tokenomics, right? He's a great Twitter channel, and he kind of, created a course on tokenomics, amazing tokenomics for builders course. I kind of refer to it whenever I try to analyze different tokenomics. So yeah, I agree. Very underrepresented, very needed, and I think, hopefully we'll see more educators and more companies in this space.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, with tokenomics, it's something that you can fix before you launch a token, right? But after
Yeah,
you launch a token, right, when you like try and decentralize, it's gonna be hard, right? Like if let's say that you already decided, I don't know, like 25% already reserved for ecosystem, but like, you feel that it's not enough now, you want to increase more. But if after token is launched, right, you're gonna get a
yeah,
lot of backlash and complaint, right, from people. I mean, I don't think
totally.
it's really hard to make like everybody happy, right? You have the holders, you have the investor, you have the team, you have, I don't know, many other stakeholders, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think you make everyone happy. That's impossible.
exactly. So you gotta have to strike a balance, a good balance. Yeah, and I think that's why the study of tokenomics is very exciting.
Yep.
Multiple things combined together. Cool, cool. Just two more questions here from my side. One is,
Yep.
do you have any advice for people who want to build their own Web3 companies?
I think the one advice I will give is ki before you build a company, you think about the problem you're solving and not about the token or the technology that's getting involved into it. Really think hard about why can't it be centralized? Why does it have to be decentralized? Or why do we need a token? I mean, building a business in Web3 is one thing. Building a Web3 company is something else, right? You can build a good business being Web2 and Web3 as well, right? Like marketing agencies or audit firms. And that's actually a value addition to the industry, so it's fine. This is the business. That often as builders you don't think about. So that's one very important advice. Second advice is don't ignore the conventional startup wisdom because while there is some very unique, wild aspects of Web3, the conventional wisdom of running a company still kind of matters. So look at all Paul Graham articles, look at metrics, look at setting up a good process, those kind of things. Most of the partners that you work with, right, when they start, they just are like hobbyists building a product but they don't really think about the business aspects of it, right? So it's another very important thing that I kind of talk a lot about. And third is we stay updated about Web3. It's kind of like a counterintuitive advice to the second one, which is basically you need to know what's happening in Web3 today to understand how you can leverage it to maybe get some marketing boost, some product boost, those kind of things. Right? So just being updated with what's happening in Web3 kind of provides you a toolkit to think about how you can solve some problems that otherwise you don't have. For example, chain abstraction. If I did not know about it, I would never think about building Interact in a way where the chain gets abstracted. So I need to know about it for me to really think and adopt it. I always thought about it theoretically, but once I got to know that there are companies that are building chain abstraction, now it became super easy for me to integrate it into my product roadmap. So those kind of things, right? So that's at least a high level advice. And yeah, I think it'll be a fun journey in Web3 if you're building.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Yeah, so just to recap the three things you said, I think, yeah, for sure. I think Web3 startup a company, I think still follow a lot. Believe some people think Web3 is like a niche area in fintech, which is kind of true. It's not, entirely. Yeah. So, of course, as I feel like conventional startup wisdom still apply, right? Yeah. Metrics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think you said like focus on the problem, which I think I totally agree
I
with
think
that.
three. I think three. Focus on the problem.
Hmm.
Don't necessarily add Web3. That's advice number one.
Hmm.
Advice number two was focus conventional wisdom, which is
Yeah.
basically Paul Graham, Y Combinator, all that. And number three is, just making sure that no matter what you do, think about the problem you want to solve, basically, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Awesome. Yeah. This is a solid advice. Awesome. And then final question: where can people follow you and your company? Feel free to
Yeah, so I think
share
you
your
can
handle
follow
now.
the company at Interact Campaign, INTRACTCAMPAIGN. If it's a consumer side, if you're looking to launch a quest, it's Interact Business, INTRACTBUSINESS. To follow me, just my name, Apurv Kaushal, APURV KAUSHAL. That's pretty much it. Or you can hit me up on Firecaster. I'm on Bobcast, very active. So that's also there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure to share all the links in the show notes below here so
Yeah,
that people
yeah,
can
yeah.
find you and then your company. Awesome.
Sure.
Apu, thank you so much for your time today. I think it's been a really
Yeah. Pleasure is mine.
enlightening conversation. Hopefully that with your Quest platform, we get to onboard more and more people into Web3. Yeah. Thank
Sure,
you for
sure.
joining.
Incentive distribution platform, not a Quest platform.
Incentive distribution platform. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make sure I got
Cool.
that right. Cool. Cheers.
Yeah.
And we're back to my studio. What do you guys think about this episode with Apurv, co-founder of Intract? I think they have a talented team and seem to be iterating quite fast. So I think there'll be many new innovation coming out in the near future on the Quest platform, and also with the exciting future plans as well. For the next episode, we'll be talking to Aru Sasaki. He's the founder of Ton Japan, one of the biggest Web3 communities in Japan. Ton used to stand for Telegram Open Network, but now it is the Open Network. If you're curious about the Ton ecosystem or Telegram in general, then the next episode is definitely for you. If you enjoyed this episode, please give a like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.